July 14th. I'm Glenn Johnson underneath this mask, so I want to make sure that we all know we're all here. Welcome. And at this point, this is sort of a hybrid meeting tonight. So we've got a few of us here at the council chambers. We're also going to have a few on Zoom or RingCentral. And so at this point, Dee, if you're on, would you please take roll? And I believe
Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Chapman.
Here.
Councilmember Parks.
Here.
Councilmember Records.
Here.
Councilmember Sorensen.
Here.
Councilmember McCall. Councilmember McCall. Councilmember Weller.
Okay, Weller.
Present.
Councilmember Wright.
Here.
Eileen McCall notified us that she could not be here tonight. Do I hear a motion to excuse? So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, under announcements tonight, Neal Public Library is still awaiting their state health department guidelines for reopening. In the meantime, their staff stand ready to help you with the curbside pickups on Monday through Friday from 1 to 6 o'clock. Reserve your items through the library online catalog or call Neal Public Library. Pullman Farmers Market is open every Wednesday from 3:30 to 6:30 at the Brailsford WSU Visitor Center. If you haven't responded yet, please do. Please stand up and be counted for the census. Pullman County right now is at 58% response rate as of last week. Pullman at 56%. Data is used to determine public service funding, grants for nonprofits, seats in the House of Representatives, and much more. So it's easy to respond. Many of us have done it. I think it took me probably 4 or 5 minutes. It's really quick. All you have to do is answer. We've taken the census, and that's what we need. Help Pullman and help ourselves fight COVID-19 and wear our masks. And you can see what's happened in some states, California, Arizona, Texas, to name a few, where they went really quick with reopening and they didn't take a number of precautions. And unfortunately, their numbers are really high again. So please be cautious. Please social distance. Please wear the masks. Masks is a simple way to take care of a lot of issues. Music on Main continues on Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Pine Street Plaza. If you were wondering, yes, you can have your mask when you go to a restaurant. We just did that last week. I went out to a restaurant a couple of times. You had the mask to get in because no mask, no service. But then when you eat,
Can you turn my light on?
as long as you're separated. So with that, it works. Tonight we have a presentation tonight from Black Lives Matter. And at this point, we're going to turn it over to them and it's yours. Okay? And what we're going to ask for each one who's speaking to please identify themselves really carefully because we don't have a book because we don't want anybody using a common thing tonight. So just identify yourselves carefully and we'll just go from there. Okay? Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. My name is Joe Hedges. I am a local artist and also an assistant professor of painting at WSU. And I'm going to just kick things off and talk a little bit about public art in general. So my experience is as an artist, so I've worked on a lot of murals mostly in Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky, and then also here in Pullman at Kamiak Elementary most recently, and also Jefferson Elementary. So I've been able to see firsthand how public art and murals specifically can really change an area and bring people together and create a conversation. So as I'm just going to go through some of the Black Lives Matter murals that have popped up all around the country in large cities and also smaller towns. Some of the more famous ones, of course, in DC and New York, but there are a lot of small towns that are also creating public art. So I think this is a really phenomenal opportunity where there's public support that's been galvanized behind the movement and now also connected to public art, which is sort of my my primary sort of career interest. So there's a lot of reasons to do public art. I'm just talking generally about murals and public art. So the first one is it brings people together to have a conversation. All the people in this room I've pretty much met in the last few weeks. And now I get to meet you all on City Council, so thank you so much for allowing us to have this conversation. And part of it, too, is about civil discourse. So public art is always a way to get people together into a room and talk about what the values are of a community. All public art is contentious. So as far back as Michelangelo's David, there's arguments about what that is going to represent, where can it be, how long should it be there, et cetera. And so I imagine this will be no different. I also think that any art worth doing, there may be a little bit of a fight as to how you get it done. This is one in Spokane. Actually, my partner, G.M.A. Lynn, is painting the T on Friday. And so there's a lot of different sort of configurations that groups have used. So some of them are just on the street. This one, each artist takes a different letter. So there's a lot of different ways that we could do it. This one in Boston is a little more straightforward. All the letters are yellow. Anyway, there's a lot of ways to approach it. So another reason to do public art is it's good for the economy. So murals and public art tend to create a sense of place. They bring people in to check them out. They might have a latte or a beer or have a meal while they're looking around. So there's a lot of research that public art in general is good for cities and good for the economics of cities. Let's see, getting through to the end here. And then finally, create a sense of community pride, particularly in this town where there are members of the community that may not feel like their voices have been represented. This is a way to engender a sense of pride in living in Pullman. And then also, public art can create a legacy for a town. So we want Pullman's legacy to be a positive one, and for future generations, particularly minorities and Black people, to be able to look back on this moment and see Pullman as part of the right side of history and creating an inclusive environment. So thank you. With that, I'll turn it over to Sam.
Thank you, Joe.
Hello, can you hear me? My name is Samantha Pena. I've been a resident of Pullman since '97. For far too long, Black individuals have been subjected to racist slurs, injustices, brutality, murders, and hate crimes. There are many cases where Black individuals sought justice only to have the systems in place fail them. Black Lives Matter. I stand here today because I am exhausted. I'm tired of hearing another Black brother or sister fallen because their skin tone is a threat. Again, I say Black Lives Matter. Pullman is such a diverse community. I've seen it firsthand. We support each other and we take pride in that. I think it's time that we take our stance and we show our support to Black individuals and bring light to the situation about the injustices Black lives face. Having a mural represent Black lives would be important to this community because it will show our Black and brown members that this is home, a safe haven. The team of Black and brown people will have an inspiring piece which will be a reflection of who they are. Strong, courageous, beautiful, and worthy of greatness.
Titles has been recorded from the beginning, so.
All right.
Okay.
My name is Jason Kennedy. I'm a resident of Pullman for 7 years. I'm actually from the west side. Coincidentally, I'm actually from the same town as Mr. Chapman over here. I grew up the only Black child, one of the few Black kids in my town. I was the only one in my class. And moving over here to Pullman, there was a lot of things that were told to me almost as warning. As to the area, not just the east side of Washington, but also the west side of Idaho. Black lives do matter, and I want to distinguish and educate on 2 points before I finish. One, we're not saying all lives don't matter. To those who don't quite understand, what we are saying is that Black lives matter right now because that is the spotlight where it needs to be. We're not saying that our lives are more important than anyone else's. We're not asking for elevation or anything in that sort of form. We're asking for ones to be equal and be seen as equal, whether it's the justice system, whether it's business, whether it's the industry, or whether it's walking down the street. And I know for a fact here, in this area, one of the reasons why I've been so adamantly speaking out at every march and everything that I possibly can is because there are many, many, many members of your own community that are scared to talk. They're scared to stand up. They're scared to have a voice, and they're scared to march. We're here to amplify a voice, and that's why we say Black Lives Matter. Secondly, Black Lives Matter, I don't know what everybody else is doing, but I can speak for myself and a lot of the other people here with me. We're not here supporting an organization or a business or anything of that nature. We are supporting a movement. Let me make that clear. It's a movement of Black Lives Matter, not an organization of Black Lives Matter. That's what everybody in this room here represents with us, is a movement. And in this community specifically, the reason why I believe that this mural is such an integral part of this is because we had 700 of our own community members, people who serve our food, who put out our fires, business owners, building owners, packed into the front of this area here. And that was us standing together as a community. And the reason why we can, it is possible, if this doesn't happen with the city, yes, there are other options. We can raise money to put up a billboard. There are a couple businesses and building owners in town that have expressed interest in letting us put it on theirs. But that doesn't send the right sign and the right signal that I'm aiming for. This is a moment for the city and the city's officials to stand right here with your very citizens and your very community members that are out here in these streets screaming and crying. We're out here asking just to be noticed. And in other cities, there's been riots. Yes, at the beginning there was riots and this and that and everything else. But ever since the beginning of all this, we have made a point to use our town and our movement and our piece of it, our voice of it, as an example for other cities around the world. And I believe that we've done that. We have not had any issues. We've stayed to the sidewalks. We've followed the laws. We've done everything. We've even gotten permits for protests where other people don't do that. So we've done everything that we can. And the very own police chief said that he wanted his department to be an example. I apologize if I misquote, but I believe he said he wanted his department to be an example for other departments around the nation. Well, this is a moment where both sides can come together. We've fought, we've argued, we've done all that, and now we're to a point where we need to start educating. We need to start understanding each other. There's no reason to tear each other down. We need to build each other up. And this mural right here, I believe that the city should be involved 100% in it. We want you to be able to pitch in on where it goes, how it's done. And I believe that after we get this together, the outpour from the community, from artists, people want to donate paint, donate time, donate labor, has been tremendous. So what I believe we should do is come together on this, work together to find a place to put it, and it needs to be big. This is not something that needs to be small because, like she said before me, this is something that is going to leave a legacy. In Pullman, first thing I learned here was two things. One, coups, don't jaywalk. Two, coups help coups. Well, in this town, we're all coups. Doesn't matter if you're a student, a teacher, work at the university, or if you're an employee of Black Cypress like I am. We all, our finances and everything are revolved around this university and this city. And we are luxuriously in a little small bubble. So we get to do this a little bit differently. So I ask the city to stand with your community members, not just the people of color, not just the blacks, but the whites, everybody. The argument's over. It's us as a community. We believe that we should do this together, and I hope you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
All right, can you guys hear me okay? Okay. My name is Anthony Haynes. Thank you for this opportunity. Slavery is still alive because of a loophole in Amendment 13. That was the main takeaway for me when I watched the documentary 13th just a few weeks ago. It's a must watch in order to understand institutional racism and to understand why it's so critical to all of us here. So please, if you haven't yet, take time to watch 13th on YouTube or Netflix. But I don't have time, though, to get into the topic of systemic racism. Instead, I'm going to address some of the explicit racism in our own community. Before that, though, just a few quick notes. I grew up on the Flus. I'm a fifth grade teacher for Pullman School District. I love this town, and there's no other place in the world that I'd rather raise a family. But with that said, we still need to understand that it's okay and even necessary to bring up concerns about a place that you love. All right, here are just a few of those concerns. 3 days after George Floyd's murder, a small group of us began protesting downtown. Overwhelmingly, a positive response from folks driving by and from Pullman police officers. But we also experienced some troubling reactions. White power was shouted from the vehicle. A Nazi salute was directed at our protest by another vehicle. 3 full bottles of water thrown at us. A white man felt comfortable using the N-word 4 times in a conversation with a black female protester. Because of these protests, I've also been having conversations with our black community members. A WSU student was passing through Uniontown, stopped to let someone cross the street, only to have that person turn and look him right in the eyes and make a gesture like he was shooting him with a shotgun. A friend of mine stopped for gas in Grangeville, Idaho. She was circled by a revving truck as the 2 men spewed hateful words. I met a WSU faculty member who grew up in the Deep South and went his entire life without being called the N-word until it happened in Moscow, Idaho. These hateful acts are not acceptable. We need to take action to ensure black people and people of color feel welcome and safe in this town. I hope that the hate that I just spoke of is the old narrative of race relations here in the Flus. The new narrative should be that we rose to the occasion to fight racism. I know we can build off the positive. We have a police chief who has the courage to publicly state Black Lives Matter. In closing, we need Pullman city officials and the Pullman Police Department to lead the charge. We can dissociate the mural from the organization if that's a worry, but this is just a fundamental statement. Let's not miss this moment in time and make sure that everyone knows that in Pullman, Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony.
Everyone here? Okay, perfect. So my name is Amir Gilmore. I'm a professor here at WSU, as the college said. And so, dear Pullman City Council members, thank you for taking the time to hear our discussion regarding the Black Lives Matter mural. Like many of my allies stand before you today as Pullman constituents and groups. Let me cut to the chase. On June 20th, I spoke before Pullman residents and members of the group about the acknowledgement and celebration of Juneteenth. I have 2 questions that I will ask here today. What do you want your story to be, and what do we want our story to be? Pullman, this great and proud city that I've called home for the last 5 years, has the power to do some powerful and transformative work only if it wants to do so. Cities across the country, including Spokane, are painting these murals to acknowledge the importance of this movement, but also the livelihood of the people that it is recognizing. I do not see this mural as controversial, and I do hope that the citizens of Pullman as well as the City Council do not as well. On June 1st, via email, WSU President Kirk Schultz said that Black Lives Matter. On June 20th, I even heard Police Chief Jenkins say the exact same words. If these 2 important members of the Pullman community can say these words, how could they ever be controversial? While this phrase is only 3 words long, the message behind those words runs deep. I do not see the mural as a means to an end, but the start of something anew, a call to action to recognize that Black Lives Matter. As a Black man that was a student leader, and now a faculty member here at WSU, I and others are asking for people that look like me to feel recognized, loved, and supported. I just want a better experience for Black kids, Black parents, Black students, Black staff, and Black faculty. I hope you understand why I'm standing before you today. Now I ask you all, what do we want our story to be? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all for having us. My name is Tremaine Gaither, just a concerned Black citizen. I first want to say that I do have a love for Pullman, and it's growing by the day. My son, my 6-month-old, was born here in Pullman, and I have a 5-year-old son as well. And I just want this to be a place where they feel like they're safe and belong. And so that's why I'm here. Not because I'm affiliated with Black Lives Matter as an organization. I believe in Black Lives Matter, the statement, and I want to differentiate that. I believe in Black Lives Matter, the statement, it's not about the organization for me. So, 2 days ago, we published an online petition on change.org calling for the Pullman City Council to approve of this painting, this mural of Black Lives Matter on the streets of downtown Pullman. And in just 2 days, we have over 700 signatures. By tomorrow, I'm sure we'll have 1,000. Now, how many signatures do you think we'll have a week from today? How many signatures do you think we'll have a month from today? We don't know that. We'll have to wait and see. But we do know that there's a lot of support for this to happen. The community wants this. Again, not because of the organization, but because of the statement, the message that is sent our black and brown citizens in this community, the black and brown students that we're trying to recruit to come to WSU from the West Side. That message will reach them. And they're looking to see your decision and what you're going to do, and how you feel on this subject. We're all curious to see. I'm just going to read you the last sentence of the petition. I hope you go on and check it out. But getting approval for this would help illustrate our city's commitment moving forward to alleviate all forms of oppression in our community. Are you for or against alleviating the oppression, all forms of oppression in our community? Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ivy, and I didn't write anything specific today, because I just wanted to come naturally and just say what I felt in my heart. Okay, just a little bit about me. I grew up in Pullman, and I go to school here too. I moved here in the 2nd grade, and I've lived in 3 places my entire life. I lived in Kenya, now obviously, and I've lived in Pullman. So big differences happened when I moved here. At first I didn't notice them. I thought I was the same as all of the other kids that were in my classroom. But then I would change my hair, and then all of a sudden they were squeezing, playing in my hair. They would smush my nose down and say like, whoa, it's so bouncy. Like, is there a bone in there? And that just kind of made me feel like an animal. Like I was being washed, and not that I was part of the community. And although I haven't experienced things necessarily that overtly racist, I still feel that having a Black Lives Matter mural will open up that conversation, because racism is tied generationally. Those kids did not just learn how to, they know about differences, but they don't know about differences. And just from the Facebook comments that I've seen, proposing the idea of a mural, I can tell that there's a lot of education that we still need to do. And art is going to be a palliative way for us to open up those conversations and hopefully make way for bigger change. As I mentioned before, I'm also a WSU student, and I've seen a lot of statements by the president and the WSU police and the Pullman police about Black Lives Matter. But I just want to say statements only go so far. Statements are empty without action. It's meaningless if there's nothing that's done to make people like me, to make people that are coming into Pullman as students, as teachers, that are bringing their families here to start a life from places like the South, where racism is more overt. The places within Washington, like the Tri-Cities used to be a sundown town. And that's really scary for me as a Black person, because I know that wasn't as far away as I'd love to think. They're coming from places like Bellingham, which has a majority white population, because I don't want to estimate how many years ago, but there was a big KKK population pushing the Black population that already lives there out to make it a safe space for the majority of people. So I just want to thank you for your time, and it would be really, it would make me feel really comfortable, supported, and safe for me to say, sorry, I'm so sorry. What I want to say is, one of the WSU slogans that we say back to each other is, we always find our way back home. And so all here would make home, the home that they keep coming back to, safer, supportive, and comfortable for everyone. So I hope you support us in this cause. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any others? That's it. Somebody want to do a wrap-up, Anthony or Joe? Jason?
Again, my name's Jason Kennedy, and the fact that that we're talking about this right now, it's pretty appalling. Black Lives Matter shouldn't be a question, it should be a statement. And I don't know what more we have to do to show how much support we have and what we can do as a community. And everything that everybody has said today, I'm sitting back there and I've heard this for almost a month and a half and I still have goosebumps. I'm sitting back there and I want to cry. We want you guys to stand here with us and do this because this is going to be something big for the community, a way of bringing everybody together. And it uses us, like I said, let's be an example for other communities around the nation. And especially for all those students and all those people that are thinking about coming to Pullman. Well, we have a unique opportunity to show that we're on the right side of history and that we're on the side where it's no longer a white thing, a race thing, it's a we thing. And it's something that we have control over. So we need to keep this battle going together. So that's what we ask is that all of you stand with us so we can stand together. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Council
standpoint, Brennan?
Yeah, I appreciate everything that was said. I think I'm going to choke on my own mask here. So Jason might not want to say this because he doesn't want to stand too close to a slimy local politician, but you know, what he didn't indicate was that we don't just come from the same town. We've known each other for a long time. And I'm not going to trash on my hometown, but I saw the stuff that would go on in my hometown. And Jason's right. He was the only person that looked like him in his grade. And I know where his heart is, and I've worked closely with a number of people in this group. And I make it no secret that I was one of the folks to let people know, hey, we are getting a lot of emails that have concerns about this organization, Black Lives Matter. And I'm darn proud of this group and others that are not here tonight that are willing to work with the city and work with the police and say, look, if it's not about this organization, let it be about the statement and let it be about you, right? Let it be about Jason's heart. I received an email from a close friend of mine that was their number one concern is look at this organization, and I was okay with saying, well, then maybe we can negotiate and put something up in another place. Maybe it doesn't have to be a street. Maybe it still doesn't have to be a street. But I'm okay saying if you got a problem with the organization, let's still be willing to say Black Lives Matter because of this group right here. And yes, I do know President Schultz has said that, and our police chief has said that, and I know where his heart's at too. I also know we've put a welcome, a wayside welcome here, and I want to say let's do things inside of Pullman that still say, now that you're here, you're still welcome, right? Let's figure out a way to do this, and our city attorney has given us whatever the public art policy is and some of the information regarding the Pullman Arts Commission and what they can do and what their role is. And I say let's figure something out. Let's make something happen so that people, when they first come to Pullman, they're greeted with the welcome, and when they're downtown Pullman, they still know they're welcome. And then let's let our actions continue to drive that. And it doesn't have to be about an organization and who's running it and where their money comes from or anything like that. It is about the group here. and making folks, who are coming and have heard things about Eastern Washington, Western Idaho, who've heard those things, let's dispel those. And, you know, let's make sure that, we do continue to recognize that most people are good here, that we've had positive outpouring, but let's also make it so that the water bottle throwing incidents and that stuff, it just doesn't have a place at all, and that anybody can feel welcome to stand up for our black and brown brothers and sisters and say, it's not okay. That's all I have.
Anyone here or on our Zoom? And
Yeah, Mayor.
That picture, there we go. No. Okay. Dan?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
I would echo a lot of the things that Brandon said. I just want to say I'm in support of a public art installation that says Black Lives Matter. I do have some questions about the placement of it, and if the idea is to put it on a street, I do have some concerns about, you know, the main streets, the big streets downtown that would be the logical place to put it would be state highways, and I think we may run into a problem with Washington State Department of Transportation. I'm not sure that they would go along with approving a painting on the roadway. So I think, you know, the group and the city and if we ask the Public Arts Commission to look at this, should think about, you know, what are all of the options on the table for how we could do this and make it effective? Because I'd hate to have say that let's go forward with this, but then put it in a out of the way location, you know, off to the side. I don't want this to be something. I don't think this to be something that is seen as like we're just making this symbolic gesture, but it's over to the side. I think this should be, if we're going to do this, it should be something that makes a real statement. So that's some of my thoughts on it.
Okay. Anyone else on Zoom, or before I go to Ann? We'll go to Ann next.
Yeah, I appreciate your all coming here tonight. I grew up in Flint, Michigan, so I'm quite familiar with race relations or lack thereof. My parents taught in the inner city, so, but they have very good relationships also with their students, their faculty, and their staff. So, anyway, I come from a blue collar background, and I really understand as much as I can the struggles of all minorities, women included. And when we came to Pullman, my husband and I were really struck by when our son was in preschool at Head Start, actually. I said to my husband, it's like a mini United Nations in there. I mean, there are little 3-year-olds from any country you could think of. And Head Start really worked at promoting cultural differences, and we had multicultural nights where each family could talk about, you know, their own cultures. And so that's all to say that here in Pullman, and my children grew up all through high school with friends of all different nationalities and ethnicities, and they didn't really, it just was normal. They didn't see their Hispanic friend or their Chinese friend, they just had friends. And so I do think it would be good for Pullman because in general, but also because we do have so many people from other countries who come to live here, teach here, and go to school here. And I've worked with a lot of people in the population for many years at my former job, and they really do appreciate, anyone appreciates feeling welcome wherever they are. So I am in support of this, and I agree with Councilman Records that I think we would be able to work with the Art Commission and other entities to make it as meaningful and appropriate, and someplace where it won't be easily damaged and things like that.
So, anyone on Zoom?
Councilmember Weller has his hand.
Okay, Nathan Weller, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you as well to all the presenters. Apologies that we're only here on Zoom, weren't able to see you in person. I will say, myself, Eileen, and Brandon had all been with you and definitely felt the passion. And although we can't fully experience what you have, I have seen it at Pullman High School. I know I talked to Ivy about this. my best friend, Jamal, his family was from Sudan. And one of the only people that weren't white at Pullman High School, and he definitely, there were issues. And I'm sure there are still issues there as well. I think this also goes beyond just the art installation. I absolutely agree 100% with Councilmember Chapman, Records, and Ann Parks on this. I think this also goes into the makeup of our committees that we have here in Pullman as well. And I know Brandon, Councilmember Chapman, has discussed this as well. So I'd like to see this beyond just the art institution, but really taking heart in the entire city. So I do agree that I'd like to see some location where it's not going to be constantly ruined by salting on the roadway during the winter. Studded tires. We see the challenges that have faced the Cougar logos alone throughout the city, and they're constantly having to be repainted and they get ruined. I think definitely some sort of collaboration between the art commission, the BLM group or the group that's there, as well as the downtown association. I think that could be a very powerful trifecta, very powerful group there. So that's my input. Great job, great presentation, and really appreciate the marches that you've done, the protests. They've been in such great order and really made a huge statement. So thank you so much.
Anyone else on Zoom that would like to make a comment? Pat Wright next.
So I would also like to echo the sentiments of my fellow council members in terms of thanking you all for making your presentations. It's obvious that you are very passionate about this, and what you are wanting is coming from your hearts, and that came across loud and clear. I would also echo, though, the concern that Councilmember Chapman has in regard to the organization of Black Lives Matter. And if we have had any complaints to the council, it has been from citizens who are concerned about that organization. And so my question is, how do we differentiate the fact that we have your group as a grassroots group here in Pullman, differentiated from the larger organization that is funded in a variety of different ways and has a lot of different connotations associated with it? That would be my biggest concern.
Okay. Is there anyone else on Zoom? Okay.
Mayor,
Yeah.
do you mind if Tremaine answers Pat's concern?
Certainly, because that certainly was the emails that we've seen this week.
Yeah.
And we've gone through and we've shown pictures from Joe. We had plenty of Black Lives Matter, but you also had end racism.
I like that.
Yeah. And that's what I'm thinking of. I even have a location which I think would be ideal, which is right here on I call it Power Plant Hill, but Spring Street, right there where you can actually see it. You can see it on the overpass over here. You can see it in town, and it wouldn't be on a back street or whatever. I know part of that's WSU, but I think we could work together on it.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. This is Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah.
I'm a North Carolinian, so I was very proud of that. But yeah, that's another example of how we can focus more on the statement.
Right.
And not the organization.
Right.
It is about the statement. There's another one that says all Black Lives Matter. That's, I think, Dallas, Texas. But there's a few different examples. We can be original. I would love the idea of getting community input on what we can do. But I don't think that has to be a hindering block to what we're trying to do and what we're trying to get across.
Right.
If you don't see it as such. Again, I don't know if that's on here.
You know, I like being original. We've done that, you know, with the Welcome Wayside that, has 60 different languages, because like Ann was saying, we have so many different countries represented here, and we take pride. We take pride in that.
So
Joe would just be an extension of that.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's no problem.
So Joe was mentioning how the painters and the professional artists can kind of create the outline. And then as a community, we can all come together and paint inside.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an opportunity for my.
You give me good lines, I can paint the lines.
My 6-year-old can paint in the lines. I mean, think about the benefits that can have for us as a community.
Right.
So if we can get past the organization and that, obstacle, I think we can meet in the middle, is all I'm saying.
Great.
I think, you know, it's worked in the past, because I have worked with different city councils. What tends to work is, trying to figure out a way to come up with maybe 3 designs. I mean, we could probably do that, have some different options, depending on locations that are available. And then, you know, the more input from the community, I think the better. And the more input from city council and from different people. I mean, this really is a movement. It's not about an organization. It's the largest, most diverse, civil rights movement, probably ever, in terms of just, you know, a lot of diversity of people showing up for this. So it could really be exciting, and I think we can work out the kind of logistics and work out some different options artistically, and make sure that it can last a long time by using the right paints and everything else.
Al Sorensen.
Okay, I have some concern about the whole thing, and it has nothing to do with black lives, brown lives, whatever lives there are. I treat people the same no matter what. Always have, always will. Okay? My problem here possibly is that, you know, are we gonna give special treatment to a group to allow them to paint something as temporary art, on our streets, that then opens the door to any group that may want to come do it, allow them to paint it on the street? And our city attorney would, I believe, agree with me. I think the thing that we need to do here is have this sent to the Arts Commission, have them look at it, have them follow the guidelines of the, thing that we put together 10 years ago, and see if it qualifies. Okay? I don't see this as a permanent piece of art. Nathan's talking about it going through the winter and everything else. I don't see that happening. I think that's would be hard to do. But I have nothing against anybody that spoke tonight. Seriously. And if you know me, you would know that that's totally true. Okay? But I have a problem with what this may do for other future things. Okay? And so that's what I wanted to say tonight, and I just think that anything that we decide we may or may not do needs to be thought about very carefully. Very, very carefully.
Okay. One more, then we need to move on to the other part of it. Just do a wrap up in about 30 seconds, okay?
Debate?
No, it's not a debate tonight, we're just giving all the input here.
So, in 30 seconds, I say this. It does need to be something permanent, because this is something that is not just for us, it's for future generations. This is a moment that your community, the same people that elect you and the same people that sit with you on every single day in this city. This is a statement and a way to show future generations that we stood here, and we stood here together. And it gets that solidarity moving forward. So A, it does need to be permanent, and B, we can definitely come up with a compromise and bring in the city. One last thing, the reason why it works so well with the community as well is because it's not just gonna be black people coming in here and swooping here and doing this. This is the community that wants to do this. If I gave you the list of people that have contacted me that want to be a part of this, I will tell you right now, 10% of them are people of color. Thank you very much.
All right, so with that, we can refer, we have the contacts, and we can refer to, we can do the, Arts Commission, we can get maybe even a, council committee to work with you, and so we can move it past that. Okay? Thank you very much for your presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
With that, we now move to item E on the agenda. This is consent agenda. These items are considered routine in nature. Council's had a chance to look at these numbers ahead of time. I hear a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Move, I heard a second. Moved and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, I believe Laura McAloon is on.
I am, Mayor.
Okay.
Your consent agenda consists of a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the regular meeting of June 23rd, 2020, and approve them as submitted. A motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable checks numbered 100289 through 100328, totaling $1,254,513.37. A motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable checks numbered 100329 through 100366, totaling $154,931.61. A motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable checks numbered 100367 through 100375, electronic transfers 617 and 620, and payroll direct deposits 62245 through 62517, totaling $773,295.81. A motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable checks numbered 100376 through 100393, totaling $63,639.04. A motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable checks numbered 6252020, totaling $23,277.73. A motion to approve transfer of sales tax revenue to CIP Reserve Fund for 2020 second quarter in the amount of $125,671. A motion to approve Jennifer Hackman as interim planning director. A motion to approve the modification of the 2021 to the 2022 biennial budget calendar. Resolution number R-43-20, a resolution authorizing acceptance of the First Amendment to the Universal Transit Access Pass Program Agreement between the City of Pullman and the Community Colleges of Spokane. Resolution number R-44-20, a resolution authorizing acceptance of the First Amendment to the 2019 through 2020 Agreement for Use of Public Transportation System and enhanced levels of service between the City of Pullman and Washington State University, and resolution number R-45-20, a resolution authorizing acceptance of the First Amendment to the Student Transportation Agreement between the City of Pullman and Pullman School District number 267.
Is there any item the council would like out for discussion? Hearing none, the consent agenda consists of items 1 through 12. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, Nathan will count you as a second. Okay, I think Ann got in first, but D is the ultimate arbitrator, I think. We've had a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, we now move to the regular agenda. Tonight's first resolution is authorizing the establishment of a COVID-19 emergency payment plan for past due utilities. And with that, we have our Director of Finance and Administration, Mike Urban.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Before you tonight is Resolution 46-20, establishing a payment plan for utility billings that have not been brought to current. On July 2nd, the Governor did issue Proclamation 20-23.6, which actually brought a little bit of clarity for us to be able to put this plan together and bring it in front of you. And it does require cities to hold a discussion in front of the governing body for this decision and perform this in a timely manner. Now, I got to compliment the council because you were ahead of the governor on a lot of these things that they're requiring. Things like suspending late fees, stopping shutoffs, making sure that people continue to get their water so they can keep washing their hands and keep our community healthy. What this proclamation from the governor does is it takes it a couple steps further, and it
it asks for a date to be set by the council. And right now, the end of the emergency proclamation is scheduled for August 1st. In this resolution, we've included for council's consideration providing some predictability to the community and going ahead and allowing this particular resolution to go through September 30th, the end of the third quarter, and then allow us to analyze how things have been going and bring back a report in the fourth quarter, whether we want to continue this or not. Certainly, if the governor comes out with additional information, we'll want to incorporate that in anything that we have going with those amendments. Other items in here is a active campaign to contact customers directly via mail, email, social media, different ways to touch them to let them know that this is a chance that they have to bring themselves current, and that anybody that is under this agreement before the state of emergency ends and we can go back to doing business as usual, we will honor the agreement as long as the other side continues to honor it. So if they continue to make their payments timely, even though we can go back into shut-off mode and interest mode, we will honor the agreement. Obviously, posting the information on the website is something we're going to get to right away, and so we can continue having our citizens maintain access to this important utility. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and we do ask that you approve this resolution as permitted or presented.
Okay, questions of Mike Ribbon on this proposal? Anyone on Zoom? Okay. Then, no questions, then do I hear a motion on this resolution?
Move to adopt resolution 46-20.
Second.
Move a second. Okay, Laura?
Resolution number R-46-20, a resolution authorizing establishment of COVID-19 Emergency Payment Plan Program for past due utility accounts receivable due to the City of Pullman as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and other matters related thereto.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, Mike. We now move to item number 2. Kevin Gardas will be presenting on this. A resolution authorizing the execution of a ground lease between the City of Pullman and Ramen. So, Kevin?
Thank you, Mayor.
Coming through the door as we speak, I believe.
Oh, there, he's actually on the.
Oh, he's gonna be on the Zoom, okay. I knew he was upstairs. We're all socially distanced. He was like 2 floors, so. Okay. So, Kevin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council. The COVID-19 pandemic has created challenges for local businesses, particularly around social distancing requirements. Warren Ford, owner of the O Ramen restaurant on North Grand Avenue, approached city staff about the possibility of having outdoor seating on the sidewalk adjacent to his restaurant. City staff is supportive and worked with Mr. Ford on a layout for outdoor seating. The seating area would be solely for Mr. Ford's restaurant. A ground lease has been prepared and is attached for council consideration. The annual rent is $65.41 and is based on the most current methodology for determining right-of-way lease rates as developed in 2014. The proposed improvements are designed to be easily removable. The general action requested of the City Council tonight is to adopt the attached resolution authorizing the execution of a ground lease with Blamas LLC, doing business as O Ramen. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And there's an exhibit that's attached to the ground lease that shows a proposed layout of planters and flower pots and tables. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions of Kevin on this? Al Sorensen.
So Kevin, there's not a lot of room in front of his spot there. How many outdoor seating spots will he have?
3 is what's being proposed.
3 people, or how many people will he be able to have on the sidewalk?
I think we have the owner here. Mr. Ford's here. Yeah, he can address it.
Hi, Al.
Okay.
I can't tell who you are.
That's all right. So why don't you come to the podium and identify yourself again for record?
Sure. So my name is Warren Ford. I'm the owner of the business. So the layout that I believe is is on there has one table of 2 and one table that would be potentially 6. It's looking at the space, is probably more likely gonna be 4. So one table of 2, one table of 4. Usually in my restaurant, we only have 1 or 2 tables at a time, except for maybe during the peak hour. And for me, that would help to move it out if, as things start cooling off and my business gets busier, because not only is it a slow time because part of the population isn't here, and many of us local businesses thrive off the student population. I also serve hot soup, so it's not necessarily everybody's favorite thing to get. But as August rolls around and September, me having a couple of seats outside was huge. And besides that, I think that it's having some people or the space to show something that on the outside what we're doing on the inside. I think that is also meaningful. And I'm happy to answer.
You have some cover above it too.
Sorry, what's that?
There's some overlap there's some awnings up there too.
There is, yeah. So for me, it's nice. It's in the shade all day, starting at like 12:30. So, you know, I still have to go through, I have to get the ground lease before I can go through the things with the liquor and cannabis board. But yeah, like having a beer in the evening, you know, for me, added revenue in any way. You know, I wish I would have been on top of this when this first started, but I was busy. It wasn't the kind of.
You have one more question.
Yeah, so the reason I bring it up is I'm trying to find you a way to get more people out there, not less.
I would love to get more people out there.
So my question here is with the planter box and whatever other flowers and things there, if you don't have that stuff in there, can you fit more in there? Can you go further out to the sidewalk, to the street curb, or 6 feet what you have to have? And is there a possibility to get room from your neighbors?
I was hoping to talk to them, but I thought we'd get started and maybe expand next year, or I haven't talked to the people at the Foursquare Church, my neighbor.
So Kevin, what do you have to say about that?
I think we're willing to think outside the box. You know, we're in interesting times and we're trying to, you know, do what we can to help local businesses, and this would be a way to do that. So, you know, part of what we usually try to do with these is make them attractive. And so Mr. Ford has a lot of flower pots and he's planning to do bamboo and planter boxes. I think it would be quite attractive, but it takes up some of the space that perhaps he could squeeze another table in, or if he could get some room in front of his neighbors, you know, possibly, you know, add another table or 2. And Laura, I'd look at you in case there is something I'm overlooking as far as being able to add tables in front of another business, whether that would make any difference or not.
I would say under the city's existing procedures for this, it would need to be the adjoining property owner that comes and makes a request. I'm not aware of the city ever granting a lease to an adjoining property owner that then is in front of another business. So I would say that other business would need to come forward and ask for their own lease, or ask for the city to expand the leased area for the benefit of the O Ramen.
Al, do you have any more questions?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think it's cool that you want to make it look nice and all that kind of thing, but if you're really trying to get more people in seating out there, we will work with you, as everybody just said, to try to get you some more space so that you can get more than just 6 people out there on the patio. I want you to be able to have as much as you can. So I would talk to the people next door to you, and your landlord has the business next to you, so you can talk to him, and then the people the other way. But if you're wanting to get more people out there, you might want to rethink kind of planners and all that kind of thing, so that we can get more out there for you.
Yeah, it was definitely raised that the city wants it to be something that looks good, rather than just having like.
Well, we have examples downtown of things that look good and don't look good. So it's in the eye of the beholder, right? Okay.
And the fencing, I know is required for if you can serve alcohol out there.
Correct.
But,
Correct.
We've had some good fencing and some mediocre fencing over the years. So, and again, I think every one of us wants you to be successful. We all know what's going on. Now, with that outside, The reason I was asking is if there's rain, I was hoping that people would be protected so they could sit outside. Obviously, with the marquee for the Foursquare, there would be some protection there too, and they seem to be a reasonable group that you could at least maybe talk to.
Yeah.
So if there's any other questions,
Yeah,
Brad?
I don't know that it's a question, but I appreciate you bringing that up, and maybe a comment as we talk about downtown and the potential things that we could do under the master plan. You know, right now, we are in this test before we invest model. We're seeing what works for our community, and I think having, you know, I think having this right now at this time is great, because we can, you know, we can experiment, with somebody else doing the lease from the city, seeing what works for him. And then, you know, maybe we can talk when we get to the, you know, permanent alterations downtown. We can talk about, the value of wider sidewalks and, you know, how we can do some of those things. And we will be able to show whether it works or doesn't work. It's not a hypothetical. I mean, we can see businesses that can spill out of the inside and go outside.
Anyone on Zoom that want to make a comment? Nathan, okay. Nathan, we'll call on you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, and I'm sure Kevin has already looked at this, but the minimal distance from the to the curb that's needed, you know, for regulation, city or state regulations, especially with handicapped individuals. You know, that would be my concern. The other concern I would have is entering into an agreement with a owner that's right next door. And this is for the businesses to decide if you know, if one of the adjacent businesses go out and suddenly there's a bad relationship, you know, would that, I mean, how do you deal with that, where you suddenly have a placement and a disagreeable business owner doesn't want it anymore? So I'm bringing those things up because I'm hearing it. I love the idea, you know, but just putting it out there. And Kevin, if you could answer go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
So on the distance, I went down and walked it myself, and I'm comfortable with it. It looked good. Planning has a minimum 4-foot width requirement, and we should have more than that. In the drawing, it shows there'll be 6 feet from the curb to the enclosure. Part of that includes the brick, but the brick in that area is actually in decent shape, so it doesn't seem like there would be a tripping issue, you know, like we get with some of the sidewalks when the trees push them up. So it all looked good to me when I walked it.
Super. Any other questions or comments from the council? Councilmember Wright. Pat Wright. Thank you, Adam. I really appreciate it.
So I think I have a question and a comment. My comment is that this is awesome. And I'm hoping that this is an example of where we would typically need a conditional use permit to add on to that business that way, and an example of how we're, as you said, Kevin, just kind of thinking outside the box and waiving that particular requirement if that were indeed the case.
I'm not aware it needs a conditional use permit, Councilman.
Okay.
In this particular application.
Okay. That was the one question that I had. The other question, I guess it went from a comment to a question. And now I have another question. And that is, with the adjoining businesses, would there be some implications in terms of the liquor license requirements if that is not indeed the premise to which the license was granted? I just throw that out there as food for thought.
Mayor, yes, there could be, but that's an issue for the holder of the liquor license to address with the Liquor and Cannabis Board. That's not a city issue.
Right. No, I just wanted to throw it out there as a possible implication. Thank you.
Yes.
And records.
Thanks. So yeah, like Kevin, I also walked the sidewalk in front of the shop there. I think this is a really awesome idea. I actually saw Eileen down there with a tape measure, so I decided to pull over and take a look too. And like Kevin said, the area in front of the shop there, the sidewalk is actually in pretty good shape, but there are some things a little bit down the way from there where the sidewalk is kind of starting to get into pretty rough shape. So that's nothing to say about this particular application, but it is just something that I noticed while we were down there. Some of those panels getting raised by the tree roots, but also some other damage just next to the proposed area here. So that's something that I think we should keep in mind as we look at potentially expanding it. If that's something that comes up in the future, is what the condition of our actual sidewalks are right there.
Good, Dan, thank you. Adam, anyone else? I see Al's got his hand up. Al?
Yeah, you know, sidewalks downtown are in horrible shape. We've talked about this for years. I agree. Each separate thing that comes up, we need to make sure that they're safe to go. And that the sidewalks in front of this place gives us the room to get around. I know this spot, I think it's good, and I move to adopt R-47-20.
Good. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Move to second. Laura, please read.
Resolution number R-47-20, a resolution authorizing the execution of a ground lease between the City of Pullman and Flamas LLC, DBA O. Ramen.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. We now move to item number 3. It's a resolution accepting the Skyview Drive right-of-way being dedicated to the city with retreated Pullman short flat Clayton Forsman, our Deputy Public Works Director now.
Thank you. And good evening, Mayor Johnson and City Council. Tonight I have 2 items, both of which are for dedication of right-of-way. First, I'll explain the right-of-way proposed, dedicated by both of these items when taken together. The subject right-of-way offered for dedication is located west of Skyview Drive, along the southern side of the Retreat at Pullman development, which is located west of Merman Drive and north of Skyview Drive. The area of dedication begins at the current terminus of Skyview Drive and extends west about 910 feet to the west property line of the Retreat at Pullman parcel. The width is 30 feet wide, which is half of the ultimate right-of-way width that is needed. As part of an MOU with the city, the Retreat at Pullman developer agreed to dedicate this right-of-way for the future extension of Skyview Drive, which will provide for public access farther to the west to serve properties that are expected to be developed in the future. The developer also agreed to provide a cash deposit for their share of Skyview Drive improvements, since the improvements will not be constructed until the full 60 feet right-of-way is acquired. The city has received said cash deposit for the agreed upon amount and will use the funds to construct Skyview Drive at a future date, coinciding with development of the adjacent property to the south. In the meantime, the subject right-of-way offered for dedication tonight will assist the city by providing unlimited access to a proposed water tank parcel to be purchased as part of the same MOU next to the existing water tank. The Planning Commission considered this dedication at their June 24th meeting and found it to be in conformance with the comprehensive plan. City code requires any proposed dedication be submitted to the City Council for acceptance. As I mentioned at the onset, there are 2 items tonight which together will dedicate the described right-of-way for Skyview Drive. These items are the Retreat at Pullman short plat and a separate right-of-way deed. Staff recommends adoption of the resolution before you, which will accept the first portion of the described Skyview Drive right-of-way being dedicated to the city via the Retreat at Pullman short plat. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Council questions of Clayton on this? Al?
Clayton, where exactly is this? I did not go drive this. Can you describe, is this turning off of Merman Drive headed up to the current water tower?
Yes.
Down in, no? Okay.
Yep, that road where you turn off of Merman to get to the water tower now is Skyview Drive. So it would start at the end where the pavement ends and go west about 100 feet.
And you think that that might be a spot for another water tower?
Yes, we've, as part of the MOU with Retreat, we've worked out a deal to purchase another parcel of land next to our water tank to build a larger water tank.
But that's not in this short plat. That would be further to the west on Skyview Drive, correct?
The short plat does two things. It creates the parcel for the future water tank site, which is separate from what we're taking to council tonight. Also, the short plat dedicates the right-of-way. So we cannot approve the short plat for the dedication without council approval.
So is this little square that's on here that says city water tank site, is that the current water tank or is that where a new water tank would go?
Both.
Where's the current water tank?
Yeah, both the existing parcel is shown. I'll open up the exhibit here, and the future one.
I have a hard time picturing this. I know it has massive cell towers on it.
If you look at page 2 of the Retreat at Pullman short plat, which is
Yeah.
in the packet. So there's two parcels. One says City of Pullman water tank number 8. That parcel is 200 feet by 200 feet. That's the parcel that the current water tank resides on. The parcel being created as part of the short plat is lot 2 of the short plat, and that's a 1.15 acre parcel.
Okay, thank you. It was just hard for me to picture there. I just wanted to make sure we were in the right spot. Okay, thank you.
You bet.
I know when we had the growth fire, we were taking as much water we could out of that tower that we had, and I know it's always been on the list to try and get a new one up there. Other questions of Clayton? Hearing none, do I hear a motion on this resolution?
Move to adopt R-48-20.
Second. Moved and second. Laura?
Resolution number R-48-20, a resolution accepting the Skyview Drive right-of-way being dedicated to the city with Retreat at Pullman short plat.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, with that, we can move now to item number 4. It's the ordinance that Clayton was talking about, accepting the right-of-way deed. And Clayton, continue on.
Thank you, Mayor. So the other portion of the described right-of-way falls outside of the short plat boundaries. And so that portion of right-of-way would be dedicated via a right-of-way deed. And so the item before you would be to recommend adoption of the ordinance to dedicate this second portion of Skyview Drive.
Okay, any further questions of Clayton on this? Hearing none, do I hear a motion on this ordinance?
Move to adopt 20-5.
Moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Ordinance number 20-5, an ordinance accepting a right-of-way deed from Retreat at Pullman LLC, a Delaware limited liability company. I just wanted to read that for the record, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Since we're paying for that fantastic attorney, it's good to get our money's worth. Okay, thank you, Laura. I appreciate that. All right, with that, we go to new business. Any new business to come before the council? Okay.
In speaking with Laura, for the mural discussion, there has to be council action, council providing direction to the Pullman Arts Commission so that they know what they're tasked with, and Laura can elaborate.
Laura, do you want to take the mic, please?
Certainly. So just if there is an action desired by the council in terms of asking the Pullman Arts Commission to move forward, it would need to get that direction from you in the form of a motion. Otherwise, if your thought was that the group would simply go to the Arts Commission, essentially they'd have to go there to an Arts Commission meeting and start over. And I know, Mayor, I heard you comment about a council group, but your city policy doesn't provide for any type of a council group. It provides that the existing Pullman Arts Commission is the entity that shall review all public art proposals and make a recommendation to the council. So council ultimately makes the decision, but it does have to go to the Arts Commission for their input and their direction, their advice to the city council, and to make sure that the process follows the city policies, so that this is the same regardless of whatever the content of the art is. Any type of public art display has to go through that process.
Well, it might be a council group that may eventually paint it or something.
Absolutely. Anybody that wants to participate can. I'm just thinking about process.
For the matter to the Arts Commission.
Yeah, I'll move to, refer to the Arts Commission.
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Got one nay. Any other new business to come before the council tonight? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Way to go, Nathan. Do I hear a second? We got a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right at 8:16 on the money. All right. Thank you.